What if your life actually felt like it belonged to you? No more feeling disconnected, forcing yourself into a box or any box that you don't fit in, or waking up with a quiet sense of misalignment. Because here's the truth. Alignment isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about actively creating a life that feels right. And today I'm showing you how to shift out of the struggle and into alignment so that your life actually feels like yours. So, to start with, what does living in alignment actually mean? Well, alignment itself is really living from our true values, not imposed expectations. What do I mean by that? Well, our core values, Brene Brown talks about this in her book, Dare to Lead. Our core values are about us, and they're really about being in alignment with our soul, hence the aligned living. And so when we can figure out what our core values are, as opposed to the ones we think they should be, then we start to find alignment in our life. So if you grew up in a family where you were told that family is a value, but maybe for you, it's not. This is the case for me. And it was a tough one. I believed that it should be that family is one of my core values. I didn't really fit in with a lot of my family. And it wasn't for me. For me, intuition, sovereignty, respect, loyalty, those are big components to my values, courage and curiosity. And it isn't that I don't love my family, it's just that they're not my core value. And it took me a long time to understand that didn't make me a bad person. It didn't mean that I loved my family any less. It just meant that I don't feel a compulsion or a desire or a need to call my family every single day. I have friends who are extraordinarily tight with their family, and family is absolutely one of their core values. They talk to their parents or their siblings or their children almost every day, and it's really important to them. And it's not an unhealthy clinging, it's just a solid connection. Family is important, family first. And for me, I was far more of a hermit and far more solitary. And so for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. I remember even asking my doctor, am I a sociopath? Because I didn't have this need to be in constant connection with my family. And for some people in my family, I didn't feel any real connection at all. And it took me a long time to understand that I could love, but I didn't require that closeness. And I didn't require that type of time. And that was really hard for me to understand for a long time. And so once we understand what our values are, then that helps us understand, who am I? What is important to me? And once we understand that my values and your values might be different, then we can start treating each other with respect without the expectation that we're going to have the same needs and desires to be met. And this is one of the reasons why it's so important to have boundaries and to have bigger conversations about our values with those close to us so they can understand. So one of my husband's values is time. And it's a big deal to him to always be early. If you're not early, you're late. Time is not one of my values. Now, out of absolute respect for him, I do my absolute best to try and be on time as often as possible. And for me, who's always trying to squeeze one more thing in, that can be hard. But because I know it's one of his values, I really make a concerted effort to be on time when I'm with him and when we're going to go do something together. And that is how I show respect, one of my values, to him, and how I respect when I respect his values, I'm showing him love. And so this is where values comes into play. And once we understand our values, and then I can, same for myself, if I'm having an intuitive hit and I'm like, I don't think we should be doing that. He's not going to downgrade my intuition as imagination. When I'm having an intuitive hit, then he's not going to downgrade that to being realistic. And we're going to be able to meet in a place, and he's going to honor my intuition and how important my intuition is to me as one of my core values. And so it deepens our relationship when we understand each other's core values, and then we treat those core values with absolute respect. We honor each other's boundaries around them. So I have a really hard boundary about anybody dismissing my intuition. And when people do dismiss my intuition, for me, it's one of those people that I go, oh, not one of my people. And to me, it's just a boundary. If you can't honor and respect what's important to me, then I can love you from more of a distance. It's not that I write you off. It's that I just don't give my time there. I don't give my energy to that space. I can give my love to it, but I don't need to give my time and my energy to it. And so I'm going to make sure that I'm spending time with people that respect my values. We don't have to have the same values, but you do have to respect my values, and I need to respect yours. And so we're creating, and even within that, for me, especially with respect being a core value, that helps me be in alignment. One of my other values is curiosity. And so allowing myself to be really curious as to what's going on for somebody. Be curious about what's going on for me. When I'm triggered, when something's happening, I get curious and go inward. What's going on? Why are you feeling this? What's that emotion that's coming up? Why are you having this stream of thinking? And the same goes for other people. Hey, I'm noticing this. What's going on for you? Not assuming something, not jumping to conclusions, not judging somebody, but getting really curious so that I can cultivate a deeper connection and treat them and myself with respect. And so that would be ways that I actively work on being in alignment with myself. And so alignment means living from our true values, not those imposed expectations. And so once we understand that my husband doesn't impose that I have a value of time, he understands that that's his value. And so when he's not around, probably going to be late or running like right on the wire. And most people in my life know that's how I roll, because I'm always trying to maximize my time. And it's not out of disrespect. It's just when I'm in my own little world, that's how I roll. Whereas when I'm with my husband, I'm going to behave differently out of respect. So many people build their lives based on shoulds. And I always think of like shoulding on ourselves. And so instead of basing our lives on what we should be doing or what we should care about, we need to base it instead on our soul. What is the whisper and the alignment within? So some of those things could look like, oh, I should stay in this career because I went to school, or I put in this much time, or my parents wanted me to do this. I should settle for this relationship because I'm getting older, because I want to have family, because I put in this much time, because they would be hurt, whatever that looks like, because my mom loves them. I should be grateful for what I have, as opposed to wanting a different life, wanting more. And more doesn't always look like a financial more. More could look like more fulfillment. It could be more connection. So wanting different or more. And research shows that aligning with our values, our values with our lifestyle is key to meaningful change and greater happiness. And so the more that we can come into alignment, if you think of certain emotions like anxiety, as anger, irritation, those are like warning signs of our nervous system to say, hey, we're out of alignment. And so if we can check on those things and understand like, oh, I'm out of alignment, and I come back in, then I'm feeling a greater sense of calm, a greater sense of peace, which would automatically give me a greater sense of happiness in my life. So here's a reality check. If something in your life feels wrong, it is wrong, at least for you. And just because it's right for someone else doesn't mean it should be right for you. We need to keep checking in. So signs that we're not in alignment, like I said, anxiety, irritation, frustration, anger, feeling drained by our daily life. You keep waiting for someday to be happy. So we see this with people when they think, oh, I'm going to, when I retire, or when this happens, then I'm going to, instead of being present in their life right now. And remembering that there's a reason for that word. I mean, it seems like a catchphrase, but the present moment is a gift. There's a reason that those words correlate with each other. And so it's important that we're present here. When we're completely present in a conversation, when we're completely present in our life, the people around us feel seen and they feel heard. They feel validated. And it doesn't matter whether we agree with what they're saying or don't agree. They feel validated just because we paused and we were present and we were there for them. And so that can be putting down our phones. It can be looking someone in the eye. It could be breathing together, just being together. And in those moments, we're cultivating such a deeper connection. And when somebody else feels seen and heard, they feel safe and secure. And then we get the reciprocal of that. One of the things that I have gotten a lot of compliments on is my ability to be completely present when I'm with somebody, not just when I'm coaching, which that's part of coaching, but in my personal life, to actually be present, to hear somebody, not thinking about how I'm going to reply to them later, but to get really curious and listen to what is beneath their words. It's almost like you're listening to their body language. You're watching how the tension sits or where their eyes are going. You're really fully paying attention to them, taking in all of the signs, not just the words, but all the actions to help us really know what's going on for somebody. And that is such a gift if we can be present with somebody. And then another sign that we're not in alignment is constantly wondering if there's something more for you. This was my life for actually a couple of years before I was in 2 car accidents 6 days apart back in October of 2017, which left me with a concurrent concussion and nervous system dysregulation and some other injuries. And before that, though, I was really struggling. I had a really great life. I had a good job. My ego was well fed. I was very well paid. I had a beautiful home, nice car. We went on 3 to 4 vacations a year. We had 2.5 kids. We have a French bulldog, so it's like a half child. Life looked good. Anybody looking from outside, life looked amazing. A great relationship with my now husband. We've been together for almost 17 years. And life looked good. And yet something was off. And my spiritual director kept saying to me, Dawn, you should be coaching. Dawn, you really should be coaching. And I was like, how am I supposed to stop this wheel? I'm just supposed to stop my job. I got a mortgage to pay. And so I just couldn't seem to figure out how to stop it. Now, I was doing little tiny steps. I was taking some leadership coaching training, and I thought, well, maybe I could do some coaching within the corporate world I was already in. And I guess life had different plans because we got a full stop and pivot. But at that time, I spent about 2 years searching, what is my truth? Which is how I ended up with a spiritual director, is because I was like, what is my truth? What do I need to be doing? What is it that I'm missing in my life? I have all these things I've achieved, all the things I'm supposed to want, and I still don't feel full. And that was a problem for me. So that could be the sign that you're out of alignment. You're out of alignment with your values. You're out of alignment with your calling, with your whispers. So paying attention to those feelings rather than ignoring them or excusing them or hiding them be really important for you. So truth bomb, If you have a vision for a different life, it is because it is meant for you. No matter how much time you have spent preparing and putting into the life you live right now, it's okay to pivot. Even if they're little 1-degree changes to get us there, making little adjustments so that we can come back into alignment with ourselves is absolutely imperative. So 3 ways or 3 steps that we can take to creating a fully aligned life. 1, we want to identify those core values. So be brutally honest. What truly matters to you? Think about that. If you want, I have a values list and worksheet where you can work through these, your values. And if this is something that interests you, you can comment on this video and I will happily give you the PDF for that. And you can figure out what your core values are. Brene Brown also has a list on her website. Mine's more around sovereignty and about this kind of work as opposed to corporate or business world. So mine tends to be a little bit more to the spiritual side. So you can, like I said, put it in the notes below, make a comment, and I will happily share that with you. So first we want to identify our core values and we want to be brutally honest with ourselves. What truly matters? What truly matters to you? And studies indicate that individuals who actively embrace living in accordance with their values tend to experience higher levels of well-being and life satisfaction. And you can use your values and you check with all of them. So you don't want to just check with one value. You want to look at those core values and you want to make your choices, making sure that all of your core values are in alignment with the decisions that you're making. So you can try this. Write down your top 5 values and then reflect on whether your current life aligns with them. And when you write down your 5 core values or your top values, like I said, I'm happy to share the list with you. Then what you can also do is put them against what they call the litmus test. And the litmus test for values sounds like this. So you're going to kind of go through values and maybe you'll get about 10 where you're like, oh, I start with a highlighter. So highlight all the values on the list that seem like, oh, that resonates for me. And then after you highlight them all, you can put each of them against the litmus test. And the litmus test is 4 questions. And I'll have these 4 questions in the description to this video. So 1, would you sacrifice this value for money? So would you sacrifice, in my case, respect or self-respect, respecting others for money? Have you lost it due to stress? Now, I can promise you I have lost self-respect for all sorts of different reasons because before I really understood how important it was to me. But when we take a look at it now, so once you become aware of it, is it something that you would, it says, have you lost it due to stress? So I've definitely, been stressed out and done things or said things that afterwards I'm like, ugh, and I disrespected somebody and I disrespected myself by saying or doing something. So it can happen. It might go lower. It just means we're out of alignment with that one. So watch where some of these sit at. In 25 years from now, will this value hold true? So will this value still be important to you in 25 years from now? So we're going to future forecast on that. And then 4, would you stop holding the value if it became a disadvantage? So a competitive disadvantage. So if you're thinking about it in work or in life, would you get rid of your intuition if it was a competitive disadvantage? So those are the 4 questions that you can put against your value to help kind of tear down and find your 3 to 5 core values. Another thing that you can do within that is you can kind of piggyback them underneath. So for me, I had spiritual growth, spiritual development, intuition. They were all on my list highlighted. And when I looked at intuition, my intuition was like, that was one that I couldn't ever negotiate. And I realized that spiritual growth and spiritual learning development, they could go under intuition. So they kind of, I use those as describing factors for my intuition, or developing my intuition and honoring my intuition. So I could put them under there. And so I kind of nested them underneath. So you can nest some of your values under other values. For myself, another one of mine was sovereignty. And so I could put authenticity to sovereignty. I could put freedom to sovereignty. I could put, there was another one I'd put into sovereignty. So you can nest. So just keep that in mind when you're taking a look at them. And then 2, you can set goals that are aligned with your values. So if you do the values worksheet, so if you ask me for that and I can give that to you, then in there is establishing your own standards. And so we can take a look at our values, and out of 1 through 10, where am I at with my value, and what goals or things can I do that would align with my values or to strengthen my range within that value. So what could I do to increase my self-respect? Well, for me, it would be listening to my intuition. It would be making choices from myself, my own desires versus my wounds, or versus what other people think I should do. So it would be ways or actions I can take that I can consistently move towards or creating goals that aligns with my values. So we want to establish your own sense of standards for success. And it's crucial for building that life that reflects with our own unique core values and our own aspirations. So we want to try this. Create specific, actionable goals that reflect your core values, and then break them down into manageable steps. Think about micro movements. So we only need to move 1 degree at a time. We don't need to make a full pivot in our life. And that was something I didn't understand 9 years ago, is I didn't understand that I could make these little movements to start shifting my life to get back into alignment with myself. And so what are little steps that you can do to do this? And you might find as you do little steps that you don't actually need to make great big huge steps, because you actually might find alignment in a way you didn't realize. Because a lot of times we think like, I'm all the way over here on the right and I need to go all the way over there onto the left. And we're looking for the middle path. And so the middle path for our life is not too hard and not too soft. And we're kind of finding this path that we can meander down, and we kind of figure out our lane. And so allow yourself that space, that opportunity to do that by creating little micro steps for yourself instead of these gigantic leaps that look good, but can really create some chaos in our life. And then 3 is to take consistent action towards our aligned life. And so, like I said, those micro steps, those little movements. So we break them down into manageable steps. And then rather than trying to do it overnight, we're building it through those micro actions. And so keeping them consistent. So for myself with intuition, I realized that one of the things I had stopped doing that had been really powerful for my own personal life and for my work was I had stopped doing spiritual reading. And so although I'm always listening to something that is personal or spiritual development, I'd stopped doing actual spiritual reading. So I had stopped doing any of my theology kind of studies. And so when I first got hurt, the first download or nudge that I was given was to do the Course in Miracles. So I did the Course in Miracles 365 days, and then I did them, and then I did the teacher's manual twice, and then I read the book. And so after I finished that, then I moved over to, I think it was one of the Bodhisattva books, and then I moved over to the Bhagavad Gita. And so I'm always been studying something, the Upanishads, something that is kind of opening me to think beyond this body, beyond these thoughts, beyond these beliefs, beyond these emotions, these senses. And so whatever that looks like. And so I just take my nudges and will study within that. And I realized I'd forgotten, or I'd gotten off of that while getting busy with everything else. And so a few weeks ago, I picked back up the Bhagavad Gita, a specific one that was translated by Eknathaswaran, and which I absolutely love. He was a real lover of spirituality. So he does a lot of, in his translations, kind of like, this is what the Buddha says, and this is what Jesus says. And so he shows the continuity between different lineages and how they're all saying the same things. And I really love that, because it's not an either or, us against them. It's very integrated, and it's very much about love. So for me, that worked. And so I've gotten back into reading the Bhagavad Gita. And I'm going to read the original poem. It's an 18-verse epic poem. And I'm on verse 2 right now. And then once I finish the book of the poem itself, I'll go into, he created 3 volumes of the Bhagavad Gita and daily living. And I'm going to go back into studying those for the next year, so that it is just an embodiment of my spiritual practice again, of coming back into alignment to the whispers. And that's something that I can do for myself. That's 1 degree. It's nothing crazy. I read like a page and then I journal on it. So I allow myself maybe 15 to 20 minutes in the morning to take that work on, as opposed to it being some big, huge event. So what's one little thing that you can do, those little tiny micro movements that we can do to support what alignment can feel like for us? That's something I can do, where I feel a sense of strong peace and actually a place of real joy. So, and that surprised me. So you might be surprised on what little step all of a sudden is like, oh, this feels really good. And your dream life isn't waiting. It's being built in the small moments right now. I'm going to read that again for you. Your dream life isn't waiting. It's being built in the small moments right now. It reminds us that we have a really big active participation in the co-creation of our life. And then I'd like to share a quick somatic exercise to help feel more aligned instantly. So this is about shifting our energy in real time. So come into your body, if you will, and just close your eyes. And you can always mark this if you want to be able to come back to it at another point. But close your eyes or soften your gaze, depending on where you are. And as always, my caveat, if you're driving, please don't do that. Do this with your eyes open. And take a nice deep inhale, breathing in. Exhale, letting the breath go. And as you start to breathe, coming deeper and deeper into your own body, begin to imagine your most aligned life, your happiest version of you. Just imagine it and feel it in your body. You can turn the corners of your lips up in the hint of a smile, the memory of a smile, just to help shift that vibrational frequency, shift the feeling in you. Feel that smile around your eyes. Feel it around your jaw. And imagine the most aligned, the happiest version of yourself. Feel it in your body. Notice what it feels like in your shoulders, in your neck, in your skin. And just breathe it in. And what's one thing this version of me would do today? Just ask yourself that. What's one thing this version of me would do today? And that's alignment calling. Let yourself just hear the answers. I would love to know what comes up for you. So please share your experiences in the comments below. We have just started our podcast, Sovereignty Rising. So we just dropped the first 4 episodes on Friday, April 18th, and we're going to be dropping a new episode each Friday. In the beginning, they are going to be episodes such as this, very specific topics that we'll be going through. And then we will be also including what we're going to call couch conversations with people. So stay tuned for what is coming up there. And as always, I love interaction. So if there is a deeper conversation, something you want to know about, something you're curious about, Things like, what is the veil? What is the, go ahead and ask, what is the quantum field? These are things that we can absolutely have some conversations about. So if there's something that you want to know about, something that you'd like to talk about or hear about in just normal language, then please shoot me a message and I'd be happy to create that and put that together. Deep conversations. So that's really what this is going to be about. So all about Sovereignty Rising is deep conversations on healing, on energy work, and on personal power. So please subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And as always, subscribe to my YouTube channel for weekly videos on subconscious healing, on embodiment practices, and aligned living. And join our Awakening Circle on Facebook. It is a community of like-minded souls supporting each other's growth. And it is private, so you don't have to worry about what gets said there. It is all about support and community. So please join us there. And drop a living in alignment in the comments if you are committed to creating a life that feels fully you. And if you'd like that values worksheet, you can go ahead and drop values in the comments, or you can hop over to my website, practicalspiritualismco.com, and send me a message through there. Or you can email me at dawn@practicalspiritualismco.com, and I can email you over that values worksheet. So a few different ways that we can go in there. As well, you can head into that Awakening Circle, and I have it in our saved documents, or I can also send it to you that way. So lots of different ways that we can connect. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with somebody who needs this message, and don't forget to hit subscribe so that you never miss a new video. Your dream life is already calling. The question is, are you answering? I'll see you in the next video. Until then, be kind to yourself, please, and keep choosing sovereignty. Brightest of blessings.